Do you need inspiration, motivation, or hope? Do you let fear hold you back? Sometimes you feel lost or just stuck in your own thoughts, and you want a clear path to give you results. Then, my friend, you are in the right place. My name is Rachel Best, and I am your host of How to Make a Mark in the World, Finding Your Signature. Go ahead and grab a pen and paper because you're going to want to take notes.
Good morning. Oh my goodness. So today we are going to have me as your special guest. My guest was not able to come on today, and so the show must go on. So let me make sure that it is live on Facebook because for some reason it likes to do private. I don't know why, but let's get that changed real quick. Usually I do that when I have my guest on. So anyways, I am so excited to be here today and just to share with you who I am, who is Rachel Best, and what does she do, and where did she come from, what did she go through, and how did she get here, right? And so I just wanted to come and share that with you today, that, you know, when I was younger, I was a huge dreamer, a huge visionary, and I always wanted to do big things. I actually, when I was little, I wanted to do hair, and I wanted to do celebrities' hair. I wanted to go to Hollywood, and I wanted to do celebrities' hair. I have no idea why that was always a passion of mine, but that's what I wanted to do. I did end up going through, and actually you'll find this in the Change book series. I'm in this series with Jim Lutz, Jim Britt, and Les Brown wrote our foreword for us. But in here it shares just a smidget about that. If you'd like this book, let me know. But when I was younger, I wanted to do Hollywood. I wanted to do hair in Hollywood, and I ended up doing hair, but I didn't end up going to Hollywood. I find it intriguing that, you know, although when I was little, and I used to do my little Barbie doll's hair, and I used to also do I remember my mom had bought my sister and I porcelain dolls. And I didn't know that their hair wasn't real. I didn't know it was synthetic hair. So I would brush it, and I used a curling iron it. Well, unfortunately I burned the porcelain doll's hair, and my mom was not very happy with me because I ruined its hair, and I also had combed it. So anyways, though, I always had this passion to do hair. I did end up going to beauty school during my junior and senior year of high school. And a little bit of this is also in both of these books. So How to Make a Mark and also the Change book. This is my whole story. This is just a snippet of my story with 20 other authors. But anyways, so when I was in high school, when I was a sophomore, I ended up getting pregnant, and I ended up getting pregnant with my oldest son that is now 20, almost 6. Next week, he will be 26 years old. And I ended up getting pregnant with him. I was a teenage mom, and, I get to even back up before that, because this is a very important piece of my story. And honestly, I've not really ever shared it publicly. It is in my book, and I do talk about it when I do my speaking engagements. But I just really kind of feel like I should bring you back just a little bit further, because I feel like this is my message. This is the brand. This is how to make a mark in the world, finding your signature. You know, the finding your signature part is your gifts, your talents, your life experiences. And, you know, just like our handwritten signature is different. So is our life. So is our life experiences. So is our talents and our gifts and our skills and things that we offer to the world. So, you know, how are we using those things? How are we using our gifts and our talents and our life experiences? And instead of carrying them in a backpack, in our bag, or over our back in a backpack, you know, we have to unpack those things. And so that's what I've been doing for the last, oh my goodness, probably about decade or more of my life, is just on, probably more than that, probably a decade and a half of my life. I have been unpacking the junk and the obstacles and the things that have have made me who I am. And I like to view things of how has life happened for me? Life happens for us. It doesn't happen to us. And when you change that perspective, that life happens for you, that all the things that you've been through, good, bad, amazing, ugly, whatever it is, it all happens for you. And you get to use those things in a way that you get to choose to make them a mark in the world. You get a choice. You have a choice to make a mark in the world. So with all of that being said, I want to bring you back because, like I said, I've never shared this publicly on a social media or a platform like this, but I feel like it's needed to share because, again, you can read it in my book. It's out there. Can't take it back now, but anyways, I kind of want to back up though to when I was a freshman in high school, and even a little bit further back when I was 12 years old. When I was 12 years old, I was taken advantage of sexually by a neighborhood boy, and that kind of set the tone of my life of not feeling worthy, of not feeling good enough, of low self-esteem, and no confidence and things like that, and thinking that I had to use my body in a way for people to like me. Okay. And so from that point on, when I was taken advantage of, I had a boyfriend. Then after that, I did have a boyfriend. And then when I was 16 years old, I ended up getting pregnant by my boyfriend. And when I ended up finding out that I was pregnant, and I ended up being forced into terminating that pregnancy. So when I was 16 years old, I was pregnant, and I ended up being forced to terminate that pregnancy. I was going to have the child. I was going to raise the child. I was going to love the child, but that was not the end. That was not the outcome, I should say. That was not the outcome of that pregnancy. So unfortunately, when I was 16 years old, I had an abortion. And again, it was not by choice. I didn't have control over my body. I didn't have control over the decision. It was made for me, and it was something that I was forced to do. And so although that is a part of the story, I forgive, and I have let go, and I have used it. Again, it's part of my story. It's just a part of the story. And so and it fast forwards, and I'll get to that in a minute. It'll fast forward and it'll all connect here in a little bit, but and then it also to where I am now. And so after I was 16, I was a freshman in high school, got pregnant with my boyfriend, ended up being forced to terminate that pregnancy. And then exactly a year later, I ended up getting pregnant with my oldest son now, that is almost 26. He will be 26 on December 12th. And when I share that story that I just shared with you, that used to be very, very hard to share with anybody. There would be tears streaming down my face. And I get a little bit of like butterflies, or I don't know what they're called, but a little bit of inside of my stomach, because again, like, this is out there now. Like, I can't take this back. I mean, I guess I could delete it, but the people that have seen it, they've seen it, right? So now it's out there. And so, but it's a part of the story. And again, like the story that started out not so good and started out really rough has turned into something really beautiful, and it has turned into the message. It has turned into how to make a mark in the world. And I have been able to release those things. I've been able to forgive. I've been able to forgive myself. I've been able to release shame and guilt and regret and all the things that go along with, when you have an abortion. So anyways, like I said, when I was 17, I ended up getting pregnant again. I was a sophomore in high school and got pregnant again. And that my son is 20, he'll be 26 next week. But so when I was a sophomore, got pregnant, ended up having him. December of my junior year of high school. So I was a high school mom. I was I went to a vocational school for hair because I told you earlier, like I knew I wanted to do hair. I loved playing with hair and doing makeup and things like that. So I ended up going to a vocational school and I did hair and makeup my junior and senior year. So I was a teenage mom raising a baby. We lived at my parents' house until my son was almost a year old. Then we moved out. And so I lived outside the house. I worked, I took care of a child, and I went to school. So that's a lot. Like I look at 17-year-olds, 16 and 17-year-olds, and I think, wow, like when I was their age, I know my older three, when they were in those age ranges, I was like, wow, like I can't even imagine my kids having kids. And because I was a kid myself. But anyways, so I had him when I was 17, almost 18, and I graduated my vocational school. I graduated high school. I actually have a picture of my son. I actually came across it not too long ago of him on my hip at my graduation. I have my graduation gown, my cap and everything, and he is on my hip. And, he has definitely, I grew up a lot with him. And so we were both kids, right? But anyways, so after I had him, I went on to, when I was 21, I ended up having my second child. I ended up getting married to my older kids' dad, which was also, all three of my older kids have the same father. And I ended up having my daughter when I was 22. So I had three kids under the age of 22. That was crazy. Like, again, I think back when I have Maverick and my two grandbabies, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how did I even do it? Because their age ranges are about the same that my kids were. And I'm exhausted. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I even do that? But I did it. So anyways, so I ended up having three kids, was married to my husband. He was my high school sweetheart. And then one day I walk into my house and he's gone. He's gone. All of his things are gone. And I had no idea. I am 28 years old at that time. And I'm looking around my house and all his things are gone. I tried to call his phone. He wouldn't answer. It just kept going to voicemail. I ended up, in that moment knowing that, you know what, this is a new normal. Like this is a new life and I'm going to have to figure it out. Like, how am I going to raise these kids? How am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to go to work? Because they were 6, 7, and 11 at the time. And I had no idea how I was going to do that. But God always has a way, right? God always has a way. So over the next few weeks, I did end up finding out that he was having an affair, and he had a girlfriend. He had been seeing her for a few months. They worked together, and that's who we left for. And so in that time, he left in September of that year, and then the day after his birthday, we had literally celebrated his birthday the day before. And then the next day I came home from work and with my three kids, and he was gone. And then a couple weeks later, like I said, I ended up finding out he was having an affair, and he ended up leaving us for her, and they ended up getting married. They're still married, and she treated my kids great, and I'm super grateful for her. It was definitely a very rough road for a very long time because I had not gone through all the things I've gone through in the last like 5 or so years of, just like growing and learning, and life happens for us. And, just I've had a mindset shift. But anyway, so he left in September of that year. And then I started, because again, I didn't value myself. I didn't respect myself. I didn't think I was pretty enough. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think, and actually that boyfriend, you know what, honestly, like he had cheated on me when we were in high school. When we were high school sweethearts, he would cheat on me. So I'm not sure why I thought that being married to him would be any different. But anyways, that is what it is. And so like I said, I didn't value me. I didn't value my body. And so I started using my body in ways that God did not intend for us to use our body. And I started going out to the bars, and, I didn't have to drink to be stupid. I was just not using my brain, just by not using my brain sober. And so I ended up starting going out to the bars. It started, having one night stands. It started being very promiscuous. And, like I just found myself in a really, really dark spot. I was depressed because my husband had left me. Again, I didn't feel good enough. I wasn't good enough. And so I was depressed. I started going out to the bars. I started doing things that normal people don't do. And then I ended up finding out in that February, right after he left, that I was pregnant. And unfortunately, that baby was not my husband's, my previous husband's. And so, history repeats itself. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like I lived in a small town. I lived in a village that had one stoplight. And so everybody knew everybody. My kids went to school there and everybody knew my kids. I did hair in that town. Everybody knew who I was. And there was no way that I could have this baby. That's what my brain told me, right? Because history repeats itself. And so I'm like, there's no way I can go through with this. I'm a single mom. How am I going to do this? How am I going to raise it? All these things. And so I end up talking to, I was pretty sure I knew who the father was, but I ended up, him and I made the decision that we were going to terminate the pregnancy. And so, again, I've had so much healing through this. I can share this without bawling my eyes out, because I used to not be able to say that without tears pouring down my face, and especially just throwing it out there where everybody can see it and talk about it, right? Because there was so much shame, and there was so much guilt, and there was so much regret, and there was so many things that I literally felt like I had an A stamped on my forehead as I went through life. And after my first one, I had never forgot. I thought about that baby all the time. What would it have been? What would it be doing, and I was raising my kids throughout that too. And then with the second one, I ended up finding myself at the same clinic, carrying through with, or moving through with something that I had already been through, and I knew what the end result was. But this time was really different, because this time I had made the decision. This time I made the decision to go. And so like I said, as soon as I remember all the details of everything going on around me in that clinic. And I remember the conversations. I remember what it looked like. I remember walking in. I remember walking down, I just remember everything, every step of it. I just remember everything. It's very vivid in my brain. And so, I ended up going through with a second abortion. And they do say that out of every four women, there is at least one out of every four. And I would have to say that's probably different now, because I know as I've been sharing my story, other women have been coming and sharing their story. And so I actually had a conversation with a girl the other day, and she was sharing with me of her experience. And so there was just two of us, and both of us had gone through that situation. And so I would seriously have to say it's probably less than one out of every four people. But anyways, and they say out of every the statistics of it is out of every one that has an abortion, it's 50% likely that they've had two or more. And again, I find that very, very common. And so that's a very accurate, and again, I think it's even higher than that. But anyways, and so I instantly had shame and guilt and regret, and oh my gosh, how did I do this? And because I had made the decision. And so which sent me into even more of a spiral. I ended up, my house was going into foreclosure, and I was lost. I was super, super lost in a lot of darkness. And then my friend at work at the salon, she kept asking me, she's like, Rachel, like they kind of knew all the things that were going on behind the scenes. And they're like, Rachel, like, go to church with us, like go to church with me. And, I think you need Jesus in your life. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And they're like, no, like you need some Jesus in your life. And so finally, there was a day that I walked into the salon and I was crying in tears, and I couldn't stop. I could not stop. And my boss was like, Rachel, like what can I do for you? This was like almost exactly a month after I had went and had the do for me. And she's like, do you need money? And I'm like, no, like there was nothing worldly that could fill the void and the hurt that I was going through. And so finally she said, Rachel, when I don't know what to do, go to the man upstairs. And in that moment, I was like, okay, like my friend Tennille had been asking me to go to church. So I texted her and I said, can I go to church with you? And she said, absolutely. She's like, I'll even pick you up. And I only lived like 2 or 3 minutes down the road, but she probably just wanted to make sure I didn't bail. So she ended up picking me up on that Sunday, March 18th of 2009. And it had only been about 4 months since my husband had left. So in 4 months, a lot happened in 4 months. And that, again, like I was trying to fill a void in the world of feeling that love, of feeling good enough, of feeling that I was worthy or pretty enough, right? And none of those things filled me. If they did anything, they hurt me more, because that there's a whole nother thing that goes with soul ties. And, when you do things like that, there's so much that happens and in your body and in your brain and in your mind. So anyways, so then I ended up going to church with her that day, and the sermon was like exactly everything that I needed. And it talked about there's 2 paths that you can go. There's a path of destruction and death, or there's a path of the way, the truth, and the life. And at the end of that sermon, they end up playing Amazing Grace, and I'm bawling my eyes out. I actually had my hair all up and done up in my same outfit from the night before, because I had went out to the bar the night before, trying to fill that void. And I go up, I asked my friend, I'm bawling, and I'm like, will you go up there with me? Because they did an altar call. And she's like, yes, I'll go with you. So we went up there, and I gave my life to Jesus that day. So March 18th of 2009, I gave my life to Jesus. And I literally, we didn't go to church when we were children. My sister had mentioned that we used to go to church like on Easter and Christmas, but I don't really even remember that. And I do remember for a short time when we were teenagers, we went to church, but there was some things that had happened in that church. And so then we stepped away. I don't know, it was probably maybe 6 months or a year or something like that. But I was with my boyfriend at the time, and I went so I could see him more, right? And so I'm sure there was definitely seeds planted of Jesus, but I did not go there for Jesus. I went there to go see my boyfriend. But anyways, so we didn't grow up in church, and I always believed in God, but I didn't have a relationship with God until that day. And when I literally was on my knees, and I remember the people that were with me, and the pastor and 2 other people that were standing there with me, and I gave my life to Jesus, and I asked him into my heart, and all of a sudden, I literally felt the release off of my shoulders. I literally felt that I just felt it, the release of he forgave me and he took it, and I didn't need to carry that burden anymore. And then after that, I was just, and have been on fire for God since that day. And I started going to church. I started digging into the Bible. I was in small group. Anytime I could be at church, I was at church. Anytime there was something with Jesus, I was there. And so then over the last, several years of my life, decade and a half of my life, I have just been, in that relationship with Jesus, and just deepening that relationship and being in His Word, and just having the relationship. That's what He desires, is us to have the relationship with Him. And so I ended up, I was single for 5 years, and then I ended up meeting Josh, and today is our anniversary, our 10-year anniversary. And so I ended up, after 5 years of being single, raising my kids, I ended up meeting Josh on Christian Mingle. And then we started talking in April. We got engaged in September. We got married in December of 2013. And so now it's been 10 years that we've been married. We have 5 children altogether. He had 1, I had 3, and then we have 1 together. So all the older kids are ranging from the age of 20, almost 21. Alana will be 21 in January. So 20 to 26 are the age range of the older ones. And then our youngest is 7, and I homeschool him. We live in a RV. We have been living in an RV for 2 years now. And life has been interesting. And so it's been fulfilling. It's been interesting. It's been, when after I gave my life to Jesus, and I still worked in the salon, and then I started, and again, a lot of this stuff is in my book. Goes into a little bit more detail, but I ended up working with a network marketing company, and then over the last couple of years, I have been, God told me October 8th of 2001, right after we sold our house and we were in our RV, God said, we're switching gears. And I said, God, what does that mean? And so over the last 2 years, He has really put those pieces together. I've met some amazing people. I've had some amazing opportunities, and I know I'm going to have even more amazing opportunities. I knew back when, shortly after I gave my life to Jesus, I knew, I in my head had the vision that I would be speaking on stages all over the world. I would be speaking on stages with hundreds and thousands of people and sharing the story of how God has redeemed me, how God has changed my life, how He has transformed me, and just sharing His good news. And I actually, I want to get into some schools. That's actually the vision also that I had when I first started, is that I knew I would be speaking in schools and sharing my story in schools. Something though I want to share with you is that is kind of disappointing and alarming, is that I have a friend that is in a school, and they do not believe in having faith-based speakers coming into the school. And I was like, are you serious? And so I'm like, well, first of all, I never hide Jesus, but I also know that there's going to be times that I might speak in a secular arena, and I know how to share my story without saying God, but reflecting God and Jesus. And so, so definitely pray for the schools that, the kids need to hear my story. Teenagers are one of my desires and passions, because a lot of the stuff that I've went through in my life started when I was a teenager. And so and again, all the things that I have learned and gone through, and being able to turn my life around. And I talk about mindset. I'm a neurolinguistics empowerment mindset coach. And so just learning all about the mindset and the brain. And there's just so many things that I want to share with teenagers and how they, we've been, it's a mess out there, right? So, just the mental health of our teenagers is important to me because they are our future. And so we definitely have to nurture them and share with them. And, as we share our struggles and obstacles and triumphs, and, we can be told, when I remember, always being told, like, why would you want to do that? Like, you can't do that. And again, those are those people's limiting beliefs of that they have on themselves that they try to put onto you. And so I want to help people. That's the message. Again, that's the message of how are you making a mark in the world, and those gifts, those talents, those strengths, those life experiences. What are they that light you up inside, and that nobody else has to agree with your dream because it was never their vision to see in the first place. It's your vision. And so, so I know we've been on here for about 30 minutes, and I like to keep these about 30 minutes, but that's the condensed version of my story. And that is how to make a mark in the world, find your signature, even became a brand, even became the message. It was the message that became the brand. When I started writing this book, actually December 18th, it'll be a year since this book has been out. But when I started this book, I remember praying, God, what's the title of this book? And when I came up with the title, it was just a book. It was just my story. It was just a title. And then it has become the brand of the message. It has become a podcast. It has become, I'm working on other things behind the scenes. I want to share with you. If you're looking for a community of people that if you're maybe unclear of your purpose, if you're looking for a community of people to cheer you on and to uplift you, to help you identify what it is, what are your strengths, what are the things that make you you. And I have a group, it's called Make Your Mark Collective, and it's a membership that I've opened up a couple months ago, and we have some amazing women in there. It's for men and women. So far it's been women, but anyways, if that is something that you're looking for, because what I found is a lot of these people they're like, I'm looking for, so I hang out with people that are like dreamers and achievers and, want more out of life. And, they're like shooting for the stars, and there is no cap, there is no limit on them. And so those are the kind of people that I associate with. Those are the people that I hang out with. And what I have found is that not everybody has that. Not everybody has a positive community of people to rally around them, to support them. There's a lot of people that have the negative people, the naysayers, the gossiping, the woe is me, the victim mentality, things like that. And I used to be there. I used to be in that victim mentality, but I learned that that's no place to be. And so anyway, I found that, through creating this Make Your Mark Collective group, this membership, that people are hungry for positivity. They're hungry to learn and grow. They're hungry to, what is their purpose in life? What is their will in life? And so that is exactly the things that you're going to get in this group. You're going to get a positive community to come around and just rally around you, support you, uplift you. We have a mastermind book set study in there. We have a Bible study in there. We have collaboration and networking. We have expert speakers that come in. And so we actually have an expert speaker coming in December 18th in 2 weeks. And so, you know, if you want to learn more about how to become a member of Make Your Mark Collective, I would love to have a conversation with you. So anyways, I will let you guys off of here because it's now been 34 minutes. I appreciate every single one of you that hopped on today. I value you, your time. And if you want to connect, if you know of a school or a church or organization that is looking for a motivational keynote speaker, I would love to be in connection with them. You can always just message me and then we can, you know, go from there. But anyways, I appreciate you guys and you have a very blessed Monday. See you next week.
This is your host, Rachel Best, and I hope you loved the show. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel as well as share with a friend. If you would like, you can follow me on Instagram as well as Facebook under Rachel Best. You can also find me on my website at rachelbestspeaks.com.